So you can also adjust the exposure of pictures if you want to, and the saturation, the color saturation as well. When you have the picture selected, if you go to image, right where you have the mask option also, you could go in and you can do some exposure settings. So that's going to make it lighter or darker. And this might be something you want to do if you have more than one picture on a slide. You want them all to look good together. You can adjust them. The saturation is going to make the color more vivid, or going the other direction is going to make it more black and white. Avoid blowing out your pictures. You don't want the saturation to be crazy, but you can definitely adjust it a little bit if you want to enhance it a bit. There's an enhance button too that you just click and it does its own thing. You can also, I just undid that. You can also click into here, which allows you to adjust all kinds of things like exposure, contrast, saturation, highlights, shadows, sharpness, temperature. You could warm it up or cool it down. So there's quite a lot of things that you can do with your photos in Keynote. Now, animation is this button right here, and you want to click into it. So format is when you're really working with maybe adjusting text or adjusting pictures. Animate is when you want to actually have animations happen. The panel changes depending on whether you have something selected or you're just on the slide itself. So notice if I click onto the background, then it deselects my text and my picture, and now I have the option of setting transitions. Now I've already set a transition on this one right now. I chose move in. There's a whole bunch of different ones, right? And then I chose right to left. No, actually, sorry, different. So that was an old one. So I chose move in for the text, and then I chose bottom to top. So it's flying. I can preview that, and I can see what that's going to look like. And then on the picture, I did kind of an angle, which I don't know if I like that. I might do top to bottom. So previewing that now, I'm going to have picture, text going in opposite directions. So those are my builds. Transition, I have a move in. It's going right to left. And to preview that, I can kind of see, and it's going to show it should show the transition from one thing to the next. Yeah, there we go. So that's transitioning from one slide to the next. So the two different kinds of animations, the two main kind, are when you're on the slide, you're doing transitions. When you're on an object, you're doing builds, build-ins, build-outs, or actions. Actions are having things wiggle a little bit. So if I added an action effect, it might make, it could make my picture scale, or it could rotate, it could pulse, and do that sort of thing. Now, once you set your animations, I want you to set them all so that they play automatically. So to do that, you go to the actual animation. So I'm clicking on the slide to get to the transition, and I'm going to change my start to, instead of on click, it's going to be automatically. And I'll also set the delay time. So I've set it for about 3 seconds that it's going to sit on that slide. To make the text fly in or the picture fly in automatically, Keynote kind of tries to trick us a little bit, and it basically hides those controls, but they're right here where it says build order. So if you open that up, then you'll see the animations that you have. I have a couple of move-ins and a pulse, so I'm going to set those. So my first one, I'm going to set it to go on after transition, and I'm going to delay the time so that it sits a little bit first. Then the next one, the text, that's going to come in after build 1. And then I can set that delay for as long as I want or as short as I want. So seeing that whole thing play now, it's going to come in, and then there we have it. Now if I want to add my third one, that's my pulse. Notice it's on click right now. I'm going to set that to either with build or after. And now let's preview that and see what that looks like. So I'll set play. And there we go. Now setting the next one, first I'll do my transition. So I'm going to click onto the slide, not the text. Oops. Come on. So I just want to be on the slide. And then I'm going to go ahead and add an effect. And I can change it right to left or left to right. Let's do left to right. And then to make the picture animate, I'll select the picture. I can do a build in. I can have that fly in or move in. And then I can do the same thing with the text. And I'll maybe do top to bottom. And then with this text, maybe I'll do bottom to top. Okay, so I've got them, but I do need to set them to play automatically. And that's the thing people forget. So I'm going to go to the slide transition by clicking on the slide. I'm going to set it to automatically. I'm also going to set the delay so that it sits a little before it does it. And then now I'm going to go to the builds for the pictures and the text. So I'll go to my build order panel, which remember you get to it here. And I'm going to set my first build, which is the picture, to after the transition. I'll set it to maybe just a little bit after. Then I'm going to have the first block of text come in after build 1. I'm going to set that to come in a little bit later. And then I'll do my last text to come in after build 2. And I'm going to set that to come in a little bit later. So now watching that, so I would adjust the timing so that it's easy to read without, making people feel like it's going to move away before they can actually read it all. So I would say maybe 1 second for each sentence would be probably pretty good. But you can kind of adjust that to get it to do what you want it to do. So just remember, don't forget to go to this little build order thing, and then for each build in or action or build out that you make, you do need to go ahead and change it so that it's no longer on click. It needs to be, so that it's just going to go automatically. You're going to want to adjust it so that things move. And watch putting too many animations in. For instance, like on this text here, if I have build-ins on all these, if I had done build-outs too, it would have been kind of a lot. So when I play this and they fly in, when it gets to time for them to leave, it's just a transition. It just changes to the next slide, because it can get kind of boring if we really know that each one's gonna fly in and each one's gonna fly out, and we're gonna sit and watch. It gets kind of too tedious after a bit. So if it's just 1 or 2 things, yeah, build it in, build it out if you want to do both. But if you've got a lot, then really resist adding so much animation that it's too much. Now, one option I didn't talk about too is there's the option to make things bounce. So when you're animating, there's this little box, And if bounce is on, when it plays, see how the picture kind of hit and then it bounced off a little bit? If I take that off and play it, then it doesn't do that. It just slides in and it stops. So that's what bounce does. It's really personal preference whether you keep that on or off.